And with us now is Sharon James, who's the organizer of the summit as well as a women's wellness coach. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us. Now, Sharon, you've been instrumental in changing the narrative around menopause. And how have you seen that change here in the GCC, but also abroad over the past few years?
I'm here today. That's a big change on TV, so that's a plus and the first. And I think for the region, it is starting to come to fruition, and we are starting to talk about it. But I think you mentioned earlier, it's about us talking about it as women. I think that's what the biggest change is, us talking about the menopause and not having that stigma around it.
I know, we're definitely excited about it. What do you think, Amy?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. And I'm really interested to know, Sharon, what inspired you to actually start the Menopause Summit right here in the GCC?
I think for me, it was because I was going through it. 10 years ago, I had no clue what I was actually going through. My body was changing, there was no information, and I had to really dig deep to find out what it was. And then this word perimenopause kept coming up, and I was like, what the heck is this? Anyway, so I did the research, and I realized that it was my body changing, and I had to change with it. So, and that's when I realized, being a coach, I'd worked with so many women going through the menopause, and I was like, yeah, come on, you've got to train harder, you're not eating properly. And it wasn't that they needed. So for me, it was just about learning about what it is so that I can apply it to my day-to-day routine, my day-to-day work, and and really educate women on the menopause, because it is really surprising how many women still don't know what it is.
Previously, why do you think there was such a lack of education when it came to menopause?
It's a great question. I love this question. Back in the days, the 1900s, women didn't live until they were 50, so there were never studies done on us. And even up until 2010, because women are deemed to have fluctuating hormones, which we do, the data that they get from surveys is flawed. So we were never involved in any surveys up until now. That's why all this new information is coming out for us to use now. And I think it's great for the next generation, because if they really embrace it, there's so much that can be done. And like you were saying earlier, you don't have to fear it. If you embrace it, it can actually be a really good, transition to be in.
And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about this transition from dread to thrive. And you often say that it should be a period of your life, no pun intended, where it's time to thrive and not to be feared. So what does this thrive era really look like for women today? Because I'm sure it's not a pleasant experience. So how do we turn that into a positive?
Yeah, I think the first thing is understanding who you are as a woman, what's going on in your body, and understanding you. And then you can apply all the different options that you have. Like we've spoke about HRT quite a lot, but not a lot of women understand what HRT is and how they can apply it. But there's also stuff like your nutrition, your exercise, all the regular stuff that we should be doing, holistic therapies. So there's so much more now we can do, rather than, and if you think about the symptoms, okay, what we've got hot sweats, we've got anxiety, we've got mood swings, we've got brain fog,
weight gain.
That's just general day-to-day stuff for us women, isn't it? So how do we figure out what is menopause and what's our day-to-day lifestyle? And the more you know about yourself, the more you can sort of take control and mitigate some of this stuff that's actually causing that.
So I'm just going to rewind here, because I imagine that there are some viewers out there who don't still really know what menopause is and what perimenopause is. So could you just give us a little bit of a brief intro to both?
Sure. So let's start with perimenopause. This can start in your early 30s, 40s. You mentioned early onset menopause. That's a case as well. And generally, this is when your period cycle will start to change. They'll come lighter, they'll come not at all, and we just don't know where we are on our menstrual cycle. That's your first sort of indication. And then maybe some of the symptoms like hot sweats, hot flushes.
Oh yeah.
Mood swings, forgetting everything, like where did I put my keys? That is a thing, you literally walk into a room and you can't remember why you walked in there. So that's the perimenopausal stage, and you can be in that between like a couple of years to 10 years. So that's quite a long time to be in that transition like you said, like struggling or you know, just surviving, not thriving.
That was actually news to me because it's the first time I got to know that hot flashes can last anywhere between 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
That's quite scary because my idea of menopause was fine. You might have some hot flashes for a couple months and then just no periods after that.
No, no, and every woman is different. So you know, depending on your lifestyle, depending on your genetics, you know, your background, that everybody will suffer, or not suffer, I should say that, but everybody will suffer, but will go through the transition differently. And how you go through that really does have it's all on you as well.
So you talked about the perimenopause. What about the actual menopause? How do you know that one shifts to the other?
Okay, so once your periods start to come to an end, you'll go through a year of not having any periods whatsoever. And then after that year, it's just one day, that one day from your last 12 month, the day, over into postmenopause, and that's it. So menopause is just one day.
Sharon, I'm going to be honest with you here. You know the part where you said let's not dread it? I'm dreading a little bit. Like I am. There's definitely a lot to unpack here. But we were saying, you know, it doesn't have to be a chapter that you fear. It can be a powerful new chapter. So give us the good stuff. Give us the positive perspective here.
I'm 55. I'm postmenopause. I'm a triathlete. I am more confident now than I ever was before. I know what I want out of life, and usually all the stuff that we just keep as baggage disappears because we just don't put up with it anymore. And so there's a lot of good intentions when you go through that stage of life, because you just get rid of stuff out of your life that doesn't serve you anymore. And I think that is a positive stage. Also, when you are going through the perimenopause stage, your nutrition has to change, the way that you train changes, and it's almost like you're reinventing yourself, and it's that renewal of, you know, renewing you, I guess. So that's a real positive. So you do come out stronger, really strong.
Can we talk a little bit about social change, especially like within the workplace? How socially are we recognizing menopause?
Here it's changing. We are doing a lot with the Menopause Hub in the workplace. It is, if I found that if we are attached to, the companies are attached to global, then it's a lot of more, it's better introduced into the companies. It needs to change a lot more, and all we need is open conversation and open policy, somewhere where women feel that they don't feel like they're going through it alone and able to have that conversation with somebody. Because sometimes when you're having a bad day, you don't sleep, you wake up moody, you're going in, you've got meeting to go through, your hot sweats, it's just not pleasant. So therefore, if you've got a line manager or a team that are aware, they don't have to know the ins and outs of it, but if they're aware, you might be able to reschedule your meeting or do the call from home or have some flexibility. That's all that's needed. You know, you don't have to go into. I know one company that did. They have an email strapline, and it's called chocolate on the sofa. All they have to do is put that in the strapline of the email, not tell anybody anything about it, and all they do is given time out to just do whatever they need to do because they've related it to menopause.
Amazing.